Welcome back. Well, continuing our focus as we look ahead of the general elections and the political activity going on around us. To join us to discuss this with us is Mr. Chimanaji, who is also a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Good morning.
Well, looking at the way it's panned out, are you surprised in any way, shape or form about the presidential situation with the APC? They've got candidates who are very strong in their own respect, in their own right, who are also seeking to get the ticket for the party. Atiku has indicated his interest. Buhari did that only recently, and there's word that Kwankwaso may also do the same. And they've got their large followings, whichever way you turn. So, how do you see that playing out for them before we get on to that of the PDP?
I think that is going to be a very difficult thing for the party to manage, because many of these people who have shown interest have been waiting in the wings. They have exercised some measure of patience, thinking and hoping that General Buhari would deliver to the party. You know, for whatever reason or their own conception of the entire political milieu, they now feel that perhaps it's time to open up the space. Especially as General Buhari had on television. I think he was shown on television sobbing or weeping, perhaps for Nigeria, for missing him. And he said that he will never again come for anything called, electoral contest. Then, not too long when the time came again, he was persuaded, I believe, that Nigeria needs him more, and he now turned coach. So a lot of people are now, it's just like they say, if a king does not seem to enjoy the support of the subjects, they start throwing small mud. It takes one person to do the show, and everybody will join to demonstrate to the king that they are no longer happy with the way he's ruling them. This particular instance, Atiku, I had in one other forum said that Atiku should rest his political ambition.
Why?
I said that on a television.
Why?
And I also mentioned that Buhari himself should also go and rest. And I said that Babangida should also give us some space. I mean, it was in the public.
Have you changed your mind
I
about
cannot change my mind, because before I talk, I have my reasons. And I said, it's just like when you have stepped into the water. Heraclitus said, you don't step into the same water twice. The water has changed. The temperature has changed politically. So they are no longer the kind of characters that Nigerians want. They have their electoral relevance, okay? But it has been terribly vitiated. They can now be more important as advisors. Maybe some of them have made money. Money makes you think that you can get everything. It's not possible. So what they can do is to sponsor candidates using the index of the new Nigeria, because this is a new Nigeria that is emerging. And they take it or leave it.
New Nigeria.
There might be some pockets of violence here, stopped by some of the old political warlords who resist change. Because if they allow change, they will no longer be able to live in the new society. Like
why do you say we have a new Nigeria?
A.C. Catherine said, I'm interested in tomorrow, because that's where I want to live. Many old Nigerian politicians say, I don't want a new Nigeria, because I don't know the characteristics. I better remain in the one I'm used to, so that I can manipulate things. The younger elements are very impatient, unfortunately. Very, very, very much more impatient than their parents.
Unfortunately or fortunately?
Unfortunately for them.
Okay.
Unfortunately for them. Unfortunately for the society. Because society must move forward. And for these people to think that without them there will be no Nigeria, it is a pipe dream. Because a new Nigeria is unfolding rapidly in their very eyes. And many old politicians who are used to stoking problems when things don't go their own way, some of them are stewed in those problems even today.
What are the characteristics of this new Nigeria you're talking about? The
new Nigeria we are talking about is a Nigeria where people want to do their own thing, their own way, within the ambit of a broad perspective of the law, without breaking the law. They want to be let free. They want to exercise their freedom and liberty as human beings to unleash their potentials. But if you cannot provide that, they have learned how to do it themselves. Don't come to stop the music if you cannot supply the tapes. I don't know whether I'm talking. If you get my drift, if you cannot do my life better, don't disturb it now. The way I'm managing it, that is the thinking of the younger generation. The younger generation of Nigerians are very, very impatient. They no longer want to tolerate these old grandmasters who are used to chicaneries that have brought so much pains to this country. And most of them are the most beneficiaries of whatever Nigeria has ever been able to provide in terms of largesse, in terms of good will, and many of them were on scholarship. Do you have scholarships these days? If you do, to how many? Many of them were on scholarships. They also had access to bursaries. In the universities then, they took quarter chicken, minimum of quarter chicken on each meal. It is like a dream, fairy tale to undergraduates today, that universities in this country once served chicken, quarter chicken, to undergraduates with tea urns everywhere you could just carry with your flask at will, at 50 kobo or so, or 5 kobo as the value of money then. Is still the same Nigeria. So many of them who are still living in the past, thinking that they can still will, order their will on this country, are missing the point. And that's why you have many of the, small skirmishes here and there. But Nigeria is still trudging on. Trudging on. And it will continue to do so because no single individual or citizen of this country is greater than other Nigerians.
And
we have learned how to do things even without so much of government presence, so long as government does not have overbearing interference in our daily lives. How many of us wake up to remember who is governor or president or minister?
Well,
so long as you don't come out on the road and they say that the police sent by this minister said you should not pass. That's when you remember there's government.
A lot of people will say that, everybody has a right to aspire, yes. But be they old or young, at the end of the day, it is...
That's the general political proposition in a democracy.
The party will say, you can vote for us or
Nigerian, I said, you people should not bother because there's no hope for you. Use that money, sponsor those who have the capacity and the qualities. Even if they have overbearing influence on them at this stage, fine. The car takes a lot of energy to get started. Battery, petrol, and all. When it starts, all the forces in the universe, aerodynamics, and all, they begin to help even the driver to relax. When they get into that office, you fizzle out. That's why you are having problem with Godfather and no Godfather. Because you want to be Godfather, you are out of office. You insist that this man will do. At what point will he begin to assert himself? He may be better educated, better experienced. You understand? In terms of modern things, you are living in the past, and you want him to come down to your level, like the proverbial tortoise. It has seen that God has put a sanction on his height. So each time he's talking to you, he wants to bring you down to his level by you looking down.
That concept of, godfatherism,
yes.
In our politics, yeah. Do you think it's still very, very relevant and a major factor, or it's been permanently relegated to the background?
It's still a major factor. Very major factor, but the younger ones have learned how to contrive a situation out of it. You godfather me today, I hook you as my first. It was done in one of these Chinese. I had one of these Chinese emperors in those ancient Chinese times. He didn't want to, hand over power because he didn't know who he could hand over to. Somebody learned the game for him, became so subservient so that he thought that I now see somebody in this man who will reflect me in power. He handed over to him. After inauguration, he beheaded him. It's there, I read it in an ancient Chinese song. So the fact remains that he didn't want the man to be alive to bother his life, because he knew that his presence was going to be inimical to his own program. But how he governed is what I don't know, because the details I didn't get. And it still happens today. We saw it even in Enugu State. Okay? Jim Nwobodo was godfather to Chimaroke. At a point, Chimaroke ordered that Jim Nwobodo should not come to Enugu State. And then Jim Nwobodo didn't come to Enugu until Chimaroke finished his 8 years. Chimaroke brought Chime, the current governor, by whatever contraption, because we were all in the field for that. Now, immediately Chime was sworn in. He banished Chimaroke from Enugu. Since he was his governor, Chimaroke has not entered Enugu capital city.
But there's word that the current one wants someone else.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to tell you, that the thing is still, the culture is still on. But people don't learn from history. We are condemned, because most of the time we think that our own is different. And that's why history says it's uncanny. People don't learn from my experience. So this governor, if he anoints another person, he will remember what this other one did to the other one, and nothing happened. You see, power is not by your height, it's not by your might, it's not by your size. It is the power that is in your hand. In fact, the smaller you are, the more effective you are in the use of it, because people will take it for granted unless you use it effectively. So we have seen that, and most of the time is, if you are lucky, the society will be better for it if the man is doing it for the larger interest of the society. But if it is for ingratiating his own personal, political interest, then the society is done for it.